USC and UCLA battle not just for the victory bell, but possibly Chip Kelly's job and maybe even their self-esteem. Meanwhile, how the hell are the Chargers moving the ball without two of their top wide receivers? And the Rams return to action against a division foe. Hi, I'm James the Faithful Angelino Sports with the November 17th edition of Friday Night Chalk Talk, where we break down all the goals and the schemes for all four LA football teams going into the weekend. If you like talking about USC, UCLA, the Chargers, the Rams, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We talk about those teams virtually every day. I want to start off with the rivalry game, though. We have precious little information to go on with regards to UCLA, and I place that squarely on the shoulders of the incompetence of LA Times beat writer Ben Bolch. The dude spends way too much of his time repackaging online rumors without even adding his own sources to the mix or breaking stories on his own. The guy never does it. You know what's a good story, aside from the online rumors about Chip Kelly possibly getting fired? Who's playing quarterback for UCLA? Kinda relevant, in my arrogant little opinion. Last weekend, for example, here's something that Ben Bolch didn't mention, but something that I noticed. Prior to the game, the Bruins warmed up all five quarterbacks, right? Suggesting that maybe they weren't going to go with Colin Schlee, the third stringer. Then, of course, the game starts. Psych, they're going with Schlee. In other words, they put Ethan Garbers and Dante Moore out there in pads, in uniform, just to throw the football around and possibly psych out the other team. So are they healthy enough now? No idea. None. And both teams are obviously limping along. UCLA has lost 4 of its last 5. USC has lost 3 of its last 4. The Coliseum right now is setting up to be college football's biggest pity party. So with such limited information, I can't really go to the whiteboard and start Xing and O'ing as to which quarterback can do what. What I can tell you, if UCLA starts Colin Schlee, I believe USC will win easily. It is true that the Trojans have been humbled by backup quarterbacks all season long. Notre Dame, Arizona State, Utah, Arizona, repeatedly, obviously. But while the USC defense did not exactly perform at a high level last week in Oregon, it did hold Oregon really close to its season average. In other words, in the weeks prior, USC was allowing close to 50 points a game. Last week, they allowed mid-30s. That is a reduction of 2 touchdowns. Of course, that's not elite, but that is an improvement over fired defensive coordinator Alex Grinch. So I'm guessing, it's just a guess, that the new guys, the co-interim defensive coordinators, have simplified everything so that the players are not out of position as much. And to do so doesn't make them elite, but at least it gives the Trojans a chance to stop the ball, particularly against backup quarterbacks. Now, USC averages 44 points a game. UCLA has only cracked 40 points twice this year, and one of those times was against North Carolina Central. Now, I do not know if I buy the UCLA will fire Chip Kelly after the USC game report. That wasn't, by the way, in the LA Times. But I don't see them beating the Trojans. Commence the pity party. Now, as for the Chargers, you might want Brandon Staley to hit the bricks. And I wouldn't blame you for feeling that way. But I do want to take a moment and defend offensive coordinator Kellen Moore a bit here. Because yes, I get it. The guy was brought in to help the Chargers running game. And all he has to work with is Austin Eckler. Good luck with that. But take a moment and consider that the Bolts wide receiver depth has been completely obliterated. Mike Williams, out for the year. Joshua Palmer, out for at least another couple of weeks. So literally, without a running game and without 2 good wide receivers, the Chargers offense is literally Justin Herbert to Keenan Allen. And, right? So how the hell if you know it's only going to be Keenan Allen? How the hell did that guy catch 11 passes against the Detroit Lions last week? If you were Detroit, wouldn't you just cover him with your entire city's population? Even the guys in jail, bail him out. Just swarm Keenan Allen with millions of people so there's no chance of him to catch the pass. And by the way, it wasn't just against Detroit. If you remember when the Chargers played the Jets 2 weeks ago, only one player caught more than 2 passes. Keenan Allen. Against Detroit, only one player caught more than 4. Again, Keenan Allen. So what did Moore do? What did Moore do to create openings for Allen? Well, they put him in motion. Allen was in motion 6 times out of the 14 times that he was targeted. This is according to The Athletic. But it's not just motion for the sake of motion. You put people in motion for any number of reasons. For example, you can put a wide receiver in motion, and if the quarterback follows him, that tells the quarterback something. That tells him it's probably a man-to-man defense instead of a zone. If it's a zone, the cornerback stays where he is. Also, you might recall in the season opener for the Chargers that Miami put Tyreek Hill in motion prior to the snap because they gave one of the NFL's fastest wide receivers a chance to pick up speed so that he wouldn't get chucked at the line of scrimmage. Gave him some momentum. But for Keenan Allen, it's an entirely different scenario. It's to create mismatches. If you have 2 wide receivers to one side, you put Allen to go in motion until he stops right here, and then you get a bunch formation. What does this accomplish? A lot. A lot. Consider these 3 options alone that I sketched out of what can happen in the bunch formation off to the side. If you notice, where KA is obviously the initials for Keenan Allen, notice the crossing routes, right? You got one guy going up here, another guy going up here. You can just see the way these designs all set up crossing patterns. When you hear announcers on television say that's a pick play, like in basketball, this is it. These are 3 potential openings for Keenan Allen right here. And I can assure you, Kellen Moore is designing up plenty more than just these 3. So, and what does this also accomplish? Well, ask yourself, when they play the pick and roll in basketball, what do teams tend to do? Well, one tends to back off, one of the defenders. Why? Because the 2 defenders don't want to run into each other. If 2 defenders here run into each other, somebody's going to be wide open for a big play. So what Detroit had to do last week was they had to take all of their 3 quarterbacks and play them off. Because if these wide receivers start crisscrossing, and the defenders start crisscrossing, oh, that's big problems. And by the way, against the Jets had an elite cover corner in Sauce Gardner. Green Bay, the team that the Chargers will face, is not elite against the pass. But even if they were, just like the pick and roll creates favorable matchups in basketball, you can do likewise here. If Keenan Allen were up against an elite cornerback here, he goes in motion over here, they run crossing routes, and then all of a sudden, Keenan Allen is not facing the elite cornerback, he's facing the 3rd stringer. So, by the way, about the Chargers, I like their chances in Green Bay. I don't have a lot of faith in the Packers with Jordan Love. And I also sincerely believe that the Chargers know that this is getting really close to do or die time. Now, did the Rams need last week off or what? Right? I mean, not just in terms of healing Matthew Stafford, but you could argue that with this young Rams defense, young outside of Aaron Donald, you could argue that the rest of the Rams defense had played the equivalent of a college football season, if you include the preseason. That's 11, 12 games. Now, I don't trust Seattle against the Rams. Some coaches just have the other coach's number, just like some players have the other coach's number, etc. Even when the Rams fell completely apart last year, they still took the Seahawks to overtime in Seattle in the last game of the season, when they had nothing to play for. The Rams had every reason to say to hell with it and just give up, and they didn't. So here's what I believe. Geno Smith of Seattle did pass for a ton last week, but that's because he wasn't pressured that much last week by Washington. He was only pressured a quarter of the time. So how the hell did that happen? It's because the Commanders traded away their top two pass rushers, Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Washington had nobody to rush Geno Smith with. And the Seahawks still needed a late field goal to win. Now, the Rams' pass rush doesn't exactly set the world ablaze, but Byron Young and Aaron Donald each have 5 sacks, which isn't too shabby. Is it possible that with this week off, the pass defense and the defense in total gets a reset? Right? Meanwhile, the Rams' offense hasn't broken 21 points in a game during this 3-game losing streak. And yes, I realize that Matthew Stafford was out for 1.5 games of those. It does suggest to me that this game could be low scoring, which, by the way, favors the Rams. And I would also recall that while Stafford has been hit a lot this season, there is one game where he did not get sacked. That was to Seattle. So all of this hints to me at an upset. Now understand, I'm not sitting there trying to tell you that you should go to the local bookie and drop your mortgage payment on the Rams. But I smell an upset. You let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about what you think UCLA can do against USC, or if the Trojans keep the victory bell. Talk to me about what else the Chargers could do to maximize its offense with such limited options. And also, of course, about the Rams Seahawks. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelinos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelinos is a Kian Corta El Queso production. Take care.